has been ongoing at the Employment and Labor Relations Court between the two sides of the ongoing teachers' strike, which has continued to disrupt the beginning of the third term in schools across the republic. Now, both sides have hired legal minds who have been battling it out, making their submissions and petitions at the Milimani court to their effect. The Teacher Service Commission had lawyers Geoffrey Obura and Kimono Kirago who are trying to represent that particular side. The teachers' unions on their side have hired a battery of top legal minds, including Paul Muite, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Kioko Kilukumi, John Baluto, Judy Gusewa, as well as Haron Dubi. Now, in the last 1 hour, we have been listening to submissions from both sides. Obura's petition, that is representing the Teacher Service Commission, wants three things. One, declaration of the effect that the ongoing strike is a violation of the rights and freedoms of the children's rights to education. That is contrary to Section 53 of the Constitution. The Obura Teacher Service Commission also wants the restriction of Kenya National Union of Teachers Secretary General Wilson Sossion from inciting and calling members of NAT and CUPET to participate in the teacher strike. And the third point on that petition by the Teacher Service Commission is for the court, the Employment and Labor Relations Court, to declare the ongoing strike illegal. The teachers' unions on the other side, through their lawyers, have argued that the strike is legal as it was declared as a result of the Teacher Service Commission failing to pay the 50 to 60% pay increment which was awarded to them by the Court of Appeal, and of course following that case at the Supreme Court, which failed or refused to turn down that particular decision by the Court of Appeal. And on September 4th, a Nairobi court declared the strike as unprotected, meaning that the teachers participating in that particular strike would not be protected from any disciplinary action. And we're now joined live by KTN's Michelle Ngele, who has been following the proceedings at the Employment and Labor Relations Court, Milimani Law Courts here in the capital, Nairobi. Michelle, what do we know so far?
Well, been a very heated hearing there at the Labour Courts as the Teachers Service Commission challenges the legality of the ongoing teachers' strike. Now, both parties are claiming rights under the Constitution, and the petition by the Teachers Service Commission is that the ongoing teachers' strike is a violation of the fundamental rights and freedoms of children as enshrined in Article 43 of the Constitution, which states that everyone has the right to an education. Now, the Commission wants this court to declare the strike illegal and order teachers to go back to work immediately with immediate effect. Now, the Teachers Service Commission maintains that it is the teachers' unions maintain that they're practicing their constitutional right by going on strike as enshrined in Article 41 of the Constitution, which states that every worker has the right to go on strike. Now, the teachers unions now are blaming the Teachers Service Commission of being controlled by the government. This is an independent constitution, but we see that they have refused to honor the 50 to 60% salary increment, and now they are now saying that if the Teacher Service Commission remains in contempt of court, then they will also defy court orders should the court rule that this particular strike is illegal, and also stay out of class for as long as it takes. Now, I did speak to NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion on what would be the way forward if the court rules that this particular strike is illegal, and he says that they will want a draw. If the Teacher Service Commission is in contempt of court and this particular court still rules in favor of the Teacher Service Commission, then they too will defy this court and stay out of class. And he says that the teachers even began this strike before the unions called an official strike. This shows how teachers are tired of teaching with minimal pay, and so they will not go back to school until this happens. And he also said that the government, including the president, need to obey the 50 to 60% salary increment, and should they fail to do so, this will be a threat to the country's entire workforce. And here he is talking about the pending strike by national workers, which will be taking place tomorrow. They are just waiting for the outcome of today's hearing, and tomorrow national workers under the Central Organization of Trade Unions and the Trade Unions Congress of Kenya will be joining the teachers in solidarity with their strike ban.
Michelle, We have had the teachers' unions, NATS and KUPPET, saying that the Teacher Service Commission do not have a case. They are indeed just holding on to that. The ruling by Nairobi Court on September 4th that the teacher strike is unprotected, meaning that teachers cannot be protected from any disciplinary action. How strong do the legal team for the Teacher Service Commission seem convinced in their arguments?
Well, the legal team of the Teacher Service Commission keeps arguing on the basis that this particular strike violates the fundamental rights of children. And even the judge, Joram Abuoda, has told them that the issue of violating the rights of children is not the issue before the court today. We are only dealing with the legality of this particular strike. Now, they did talk a lot really about the issue of violating the children's rights under the Constitution. But we yet to hear from the teachers' unions and the side of the teachers' unions. But the Teacher Service Commission has argued its part. But the only argument they have is that this strike was declared unprotected by this very court. And by that, I mean, and they did define the definition of an illegal strike is a strike that has commenced unlawfully, and by being unprotected by law, then they said that this strike should be ruled off as illegal. But the judge says that they really should not say that this strike is illegal, because that is the judge's mandate to say so. So all they have to argue is why this particular strike should be declared illegal, and not just declare it illegal without giving out the reasons. Now, they have given out several reasons really as to why this particular strike should be deemed illegal. But and we also note that the Attorney General, Githu Muigai, has been represented at this particular hearing today, and he's taking the same stance as the Teachers Service Commission, saying that the lawyer says that the Attorney General wants to protect the rights of the public, and so they are taking the same stance as the Teachers Service Commission, and the teachers really seem to be on their own on this one, Ben.
Well, when do we expect a ruling? When do we expect this impasse to be put to bed?
Well, this is an issue of national urgency. Now, we were expecting this court ruling to only, this court hearing to only take an hour, but it has already been about 2 hours. We've only heard from one side. Now, we're yet to know if the ruling will be given today, because it was supposed to be given today because of the urgency of the matter, but we're yet to hear from the judge as to when he'll be giving this particular ruling.
Thank you, Michelle. KTN's Michelle Ngele coming to us live from Milimani, from the Employment and Teachers Relations and Workers Labor Relations Court, rather, on that the Teacher Service Commission, through their lawyers, maintaining that the strike should be declared illegal, as there was no notice of the strike given, and the teachers union, through their lawyers, saying that that strike is very much legal, given the fact that it was as a result of the Teacher Service Commission not paying the 50 to 60% pay increment as ordered or awarded to them by the Court of Appeal. Meanwhile, teachers in the county of Kakamega took to the streets today to demonstrate against the TSC's September salary directive. The teachers, led by their KUPPET and NAT officials, first convened at the Kakamega NAT branch office before marching around town and making their final stop at the county government office. The teachers remain firm on the resolve of not going back to class until they receive their pay. They accuse the Teacher Service Commission of using threats and intimidation against them, and the government of being insensitive to their plight. The two unions officials asserted the teachers would also not obey any future court orders issued against their favor. They further demanded head teachers who still had their schools open to candidates to have them closed.
The whole of Kakamega County is closed. We are going to turn every wave until the ocean will be clear. So we are saying, ya kwamba, if anybody does not want to listen to us, we are going to force this government to listen to us. Wananchi will go on the streets with us until we remove them from power.
Standing together with the teachers of this nation. And we are asking the government to respect the court order The judiciary has spoken. Uhuru government and Jubilee as a whole is a creation of the Supreme Court. They must reciprocate by obeying the Supreme orders. That is the position, and we are asking the teachers to stay put and stay in their homes. All schools in the country and in this Kakamega as a whole must remain closed.
At the same time, the Education Secretary, Professor Jacob Kaimenya, has issued a directive to all teachers to report to work by Friday as directed by the employer, the Teachers Service Commission. Kaimenya says teachers who will not heed the directive should consider themselves fired. He also said that the national examinations will not be postponed and requested parents to send their children to school. Let's now switch gears, turn to the county of Machakos and the ongoing burial service for the father of Nairobi Senator Gideon Mbuvi, aka Mike Sonko, who has been buried today. Gideon Kioko Kivangoli, the father of the Nairobi Senator, passed away on Sunday at Nairobi Hospital, where he was admitted at the intensive care unit. And the caskets carrying the body of the late Senator's father left the capital Nairobi in a fleet of more than 60 top-of-the-range vehicles, and that burial, the Senator's late father is expected to be laid to rest at Moore Hills Farm, that is Sonko's family farm in Machakos County, between Makutano Junction and Machakos Town. Let us listen to that.
Fuatilia kazi unayoifanya hapa Kenya. Na kati ya mambo yaliyonigusa kabla sijasoma neno ningependa nizungumze ni ile hali uliojitoa kwa vijana kuhakikisha ya kwamba unapambana na mambo ya kulevya, madawa ya kulevya, pombe, ili ya kwamba vijana waweze kuwa safi kwa ajili ya taifa la leo na kesho. Mungu akubariki. Ningependa nishike mkono kidogo. Sasa ninazo dakika kama 20 ningeweza kumtambulisha mke wangu, lakini sasa sitaweza. Nataka tusome kitabu cha Marko sura ya 12 ule mstari wa 28 mpaka 34. Nitasoma kama ilivyoandikwa. Biblia inasema, na mmoja wapo waandishi akafika, akawasikia wakisemezana naye. Akatambua ya kuwa amewajibu vema, akamuuliza, katika amri zote ni ipi iliyo ya kwanza? Yesu akamjibu ya kwamba amri ya kwanza ndiyo hii: sikia Israeli, Bwana Mungu wetu ni Bwana mmoja, nawe mpende Bwana Mungu wako kwa moyo wako wote, na kwa roho yako yote, na kwa akili zako zote, na kwa nguvu zako zote. Na ya pili ndiyo hii: mpende jirani yako kama nafsi yako. Hakuna amri nyingine iliyo kuu kuliko hizo. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Hili ndio neno ambalo ningependa tushie pamoja, na ni juu ya mahusiano ambayo mwanadamu anatakiwa kuwa nayo na Mwenyezi Mungu. Kumbuka, kuna watu wanasema Mungu hayupo, lakini ukiangalia katika Zaburi ya 14, Mfalme Daudi anasema anayesema Mungu hayupo ni mpumbavu ndani ya moyo wake. Mungu anaishi. Ukiangalia mataifa yaliyomkataa kama China, Russia ambayo yalikuwa chini ya ukomunisti, utaona mambo yao hayaendi sawa sawa. Hakuna taifa ambalo linaweza likamkataa Mungu alafu likadumu, alafu likaishi, alafu likawa na uhai. Ni jambo gumu. Kumkataa mtu aliyekuumba ni jambo gumu. You can't survive. Ubinadamu wetu unakamilika pale ambapo tunaamini ya kwamba Mungu yupo. Tukidinai ya kwamba Mungu hayupo, tutakuwa kama wanyama, hatutakuwa tena na ule ubinadamu. Ukiangalia katika hii mistari niliyoisoma, huyu alikuwa ni Farisayo aliyemwendea Yesu kumuuliza ya kwamba katika zile amri 10 za Mungu ambazo Musa alipewa katika mlima wa Sinai, ipi iliyo kubwa? Na Yesu tunaona anatoa jibu, anasema
the burial ceremony of the father of Nairobi Senator Gideon Mbuvi, Mzee Gideon Kioko Kivangoli at Manzoni Moorhead from the family's farm in Machakos County. The ceremony has begun. All the guests are seated, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, shall be taking back to Manzoni later on. Let's now cross borders, and some Ugandan members of parliament are calling for investigations into the death of Internal Affairs Minister and former Chief of Defense Forces General Aronda Nyakairima. The MP say the sudden death raises strong suspicions of possible foul play.
Incensed and shocked at how the amiable Internal Affairs Minister General Aronda Nyakairima died, some members of parliament called government to establish a committee to investigate circumstances under which the minister died.
We want to dispel any kind of suspicion that there was foul play in his death. If it was there, let us take action, because there has always been suspicion that certain generals were supposed to be killed. Those who didn't support the Mohozi project.
I mean, you have speculations surrounding death of a prime minister. I'm a commander, intelligence chief, and you do not want that investigated?
I think Africans should learn to accept death. Because even someone who dies of old age, people want to find out the cause of the death. I think let us be kind to the family members.
The members of parliament commended the former commander of defense forces and internal affairs minister General Aronda Nyakairima for his patriotic service, saying his death is a tragic loss to the country.
I have worked with General Aronda since I joined the army. He was a very, very transparent army officer who was always pursuing the right way without bending the law.
The legislators say upon his death, General Aronda Nyakairima had redeemed the image of the once tainted Minister of Internal Affairs.
We've seen the law on national identity card, which is, I think, will change the way we are doing business in our country.
When Aronda went, sanity was brought. Fake passports were recalled. It is now so difficult to get passports. Every Ugandan arrested in Europe is carrying a Ugandan passport, yet they are Nigerians and Ghanaians. So under Aronda's tenure, it became more clear the procedures for getting passports.
According to government officials, a waitress aboard the Emir's flight to Dubai found General Aronda Nyakairima unconscious in his seat he was traveling in the business class. The fire-spitting legislators have also expressed disappointment over blocking journalists from covering the funeral arrangements at the deceased's home in Buziga, saying causes more suspicion.
It would be unfortunate if at all journalists are barred from any kind of investigations, because they are supposed to tell us as it is, so that we don't create other stories.
This was a public servant. He had opened himself up to public scrutiny and to public life. What is so private about his home? I think that is equally suspicious. I would appeal to government to be transparent in this.
According to the Minister of Internal Affairs, the minister is traveling from South Korea in company of the National Identification and Registration Authority Executive Director Judith Obitele Gama and the NILA Board Chairman John Kasenene. The minister's aide, whose name was not given, was also on the same flight. Sam Ivana Mugabe, Waswa Hassan, NBS, Sunset.
To the Kenyan Parliament, where the Parliamentary Accounts Committee of the National Assembly is currently questioning Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission top officials of a procurement process of the election materials used during the 2013 general election. Members of Parliament also want the IEBC commissioners to work as part-time employees. This is after some of the commissioners failed to account for their daily duties. KTN's Francis Mtalak now joins us on the phone live from Parliament. Francis, who's been grilled today, and what have the MPs said so far?
Well, thank you, Ben. Currently, Commissioner Lau has just stated after being grilled by the Parliamentary Accounts Committee on regard to the audit report that was released by the Auditor General regarding the procurement of the EVR devices for the 2013 general elections. And the MPs were questioning how the tender was varied from 30,000 units of handheld devices to 34,000 laptops, and generally the conduct of the 2013 polls, in which there was a tender which was awarded to a South African company known as Face Technology. And according to Commissioner Lawi, the commissioners, they're not involved in supervising or any matters regarding to tender issues. And he says that this matter lies with the Secretariat, and he maintains that they were forced to come in after the media reports, and he was heard from the members of the public saying that the commission had to come in and see what was generally happening. And also I've been able to see Commissioner, the chair of the commission from the IBC, Mr. Isaac Hassan, who was outside waiting to be grilled also with regard to the same issue then.
Francis, yesterday when the Public Accounts Committee was grilling Commissioners Mubondi Wangai and Albert Bwire, there was the issue of them being at pains to explain what is it that the commissioners do on a daily basis, that the PAC is saying that the IBC commissioners should work as part-time employees, and that the commission should be reduced the number from 9 to 3. Has that come up in the grillings today?
No, generally, then I saw the first grilling that happened for Commissioner Lau. It didn't come up, so we're expecting maybe through the chair, who is Mr. Isaac Hassan, this issue might come up, and the members of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee would want maybe to get the views from the chair himself, who will elaborate more about this issue. But also another issue which came up is with regard to the BVR and the procurement of you remember that the BVR machines failed to some extent during the 2013 polls. So the members of Parliament also questioned the challenges that the IBC faced, and through Commissioner Lawi, they maintained that yes, there are some challenges, but to some extent they have learned through some of the by-elections that we have been able to hold, unlike Makueni, Senator Seat, Edma, and Kajiado Central for that matter, and assuring the members of the public that come 2017 that the IBC is ready, and the only issue that they're having now is to the issue of funding. Then.
Francis, can we confirm that the IBC chair Ahmed Isaac will be facing the PAC today?
Currently, as the mood it is, they are taking a short break, but as the mood it is that we are waiting to see, but I've been able to see the IBC chair who was outside the committee room 9, so we're waiting to see. We are told that he is going to appear any time from now, so that is a matter that we're waiting to see from the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, if they will be having some time to grill the chair.
The Sketians Francis Mtalaki coming to us live and phone from Parliament Bill to the program. You're watching KTN Newsdesk. Now, as the court tussle between the Teacher Service Commission and the teachers' unions continues over the pay hike, Education Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimanyi has issued a directive to all teachers to report to work by Friday as directed by the employer, the TSC. Kaimanyi says teachers who will not heed the directive should consider themselves fired. He also said that the national examinations will not be postponed and requested parents to send their children to school.
The national examinations calendar has not been reviewed by the ministry. Consequently, I wish to reiterate once again that the said examinations will continue as scheduled. NEC has already released the national examinations timetable for 2015 examinations to enable the candidates focus more on the final preparations. And the launch will be done by our principal secretary, who is seated next to me here on Friday, right? The Minister of Education, Science and Technology wishes to appeal to all teachers to go back and teach as directed by their employer. In the interests of our innocent parents and children, especially the ones who are slated to sit for national examinations this year. I think it's important to listen to the cries of parents and children of this country. Number 4, the ministry wishes to advise all teachers in our motherland to take seriously the caution by TSC on the consequences of participating in unprotected strike, including loss of earnings and disciplinary action that could lead to termination of employment. This is not a question of threat. That is which is contained in law and code of conduct or regulations of all teachers in Kenya. Number 5, security being central to a conducive learning and training environment, the government once again wishes to assure parents and learners that measures have been put in place to secure the learners, the staff, and property of our education institutions. As clearly directed by the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, any unprotected strike activities which threaten the security in our schools will not be entertained. Number 6, as TSC has clarified severally, the Supreme Court did not direct the government to pay teachers as ruled earlier by the Court of Appeal. The truth of the matter is that the Supreme Court didn't make such a ruling. And I quote, ladies and gentlemen, this court lacks jurisdiction to entertain an application challenging the exercise of discretion by the Court of Appeal under Rule 5 2B of that court's rules, there being neither an appeal nor an intended appeal pending before the Supreme Court. Therefore, of necessity, ladies and gentlemen, my ministry appeals to all unions, to all leaders, including yourselves, to speak the truth on this matter instead of misleading Kenyans. And I've said so many times that we must listen to all parties. And sometimes we have a tendency to listen to one side of the story. And unless and until you listen to other side of the story, you may not get the facts the way they are.